Hi friends, today with a question. And I need you to really sit with it before you answer. I need you to feel it, not just think it. When was the last time someone called you smart? And you actually believed them? Take a moment. Because for a lot of women in this room, there was a hesitation just now. A small but significant pause between the question and the answer. Some of you smiled and thought of a compliment you received recently, but then immediately followed that memory with a quiet voice that said, but they were probably just being nice. And some of you cannot think of the single time you were called smart in the past year. And some of you, and I see you, I know you because I have been you. Some of you are sitting there right now thinking, I am not sure I am smart. I am not sure that word belongs to me. Today we are going to change that. By giving you information you do not have. Not by teaching you a curriculum or handing you a certificate, but by dismantling, piece by piece, every lie you have ever been told about what it means to be a smart woman. And by replacing those lies with 7 principles that are going to rewire the way you think, the way you carry yourself, the way you move through the world, and the way you look at yourself in the mirror at the end of the day. This is not a speech about becoming someone else. This is a speech about becoming more completely, more deliberately, more powerfully yourself. So lean in. Because what I'm about to share with you was not written in a textbook. It was lived. It was cried over. It was figured out in kitchens at midnight and in office bathrooms and in cars parked in driveways where the speaker sat for 20 minutes because she did not yet have the strength to walk into whatever was waiting for her inside the house. This was lived out with, and it begins with a story, There was a girl, brilliant, curious, endlessly questioning, who grew up in a household where intelligence in women was not celebrated. It was tolerated at best and punished at worst. Her mother had been told in the generation before that smart women were difficult, that smart women intimidated men, that smart women ended up alone. And so her mother, out of love, out of the only wisdom she had been given, passed that message on. Do not be too much, she said in 1,000 different ways. Do not ask too many questions. Do not argue. Do not make people feel small by knowing too much. And this girl, who had an engine inside her that wanted to run at full speed, who had a mind that never stopped generating ideas, who had questions about everything, she learned to dim herself. She learned to pretend. She learned to sit at tables and hold back the best of what she had to offer, because she had been taught that offering too much would cost her something. She could not afford to lose. She got older. She went to school, to work, to relationships, and she was good at things. She was competent and capable and people noticed, but she always found ways to minimize it. Oh, it was nothing. I just got lucky. The team really deserves the credit. She built a whole language of self-erasure, a vocabulary of shrinking. And she moved through her 30s still not claiming the thing that had always been true about her, still not looking herself in the eye and saying the word that fit. That woman is in this room today. She is watching this video. She is listening to these words. She has been carrying this for years, this unresolved relationship with her own intelligence. This complicated and painful history with the idea that she is allowed to be magnificent, that she is allowed to be the full expression of everything God put in her. And I am here today to tell you that the time of shrinking is over. It is done. It is finished. Starting today, we move differently. Let me lay a foundation before we get into the 7 principles. Because I want us to be operating from the same understanding. I want to define smart in a way that is big enough to hold the fullness of what women are. Smart is not a test score. Smart is not a degree, though degrees have value. Smart is not the ability to recite facts or dominate a trivia game, or quote the right philosopher at a dinner party. Smart is not the absence of emotion. In fact, one of the most persistent and damaging lies ever told is that emotion and intelligence are opposites. They are not. Emotional intelligence, the ability to understand and navigate the emotional landscape of yourself and others, is one of the most sophisticated forms of cognitive functioning that exists. Brain science has confirmed this. Great leaders know this. And smart women have always known this. even when the world told them it was weakness. Smart, as I define it today, is this. Smart is the deliberate, growing, courageous practice of using every faculty you have: your mind, your intuition, your experience, your empathy, your creativity, your will, in service of becoming the person you were designed to be and building the life you were designed to live. Smart is not a fixed attribute. It is not something you either have or you do not have. It is a practice. It is something you do every day, in small and large ways. It is a commitment to your own growth. It is a refusal to stay the same when you have the capacity to evolve, to evolve. Every woman in this room has that capacity. Every single one, including you, especially you. Now, the 7 principles. Principle 1. A smart woman knows herself. This sounds simple. It is not. Self-knowledge is one of the rarest and most difficult things a human being can achieve. The ancient Greeks wrote it on the temple at Delphi. Know thyself, as if it were the foundation of all wisdom. And it is, because you cannot make good decisions from a place of self-ignorance. You cannot set meaningful goals if you do not know your own values. You cannot build healthy relationships if you do not understand your own patterns. You cannot use your gifts if you have not taken the time to identify what they are. But here is the specific reason this is hard for women. We have been socialized across millennia and across cultures to understand ourselves primarily in relation to others. We are taught to know what other people need from us. We are taught to know how to comfort and support and serve. We are taught to read rooms, to anticipate, to adjust, ask. And these are real skills. They have value. But somewhere in all of that outward attention, we stop turning the lens inward. We became experts at other people and strangers to ourselves. I want to tell you about a woman named Rani. Rani was a high school teacher for 15 years. She was extraordinary at her job, genuinely gifted with young people, able to see their potential in ways that transformed their trajectories. She was also deeply unhappy. Not in a way that showed on her face, not in a way she could have articulated if you asked her, but a deep, quiet, persistent unhappiness that she had learned to carry so efficiently that she had almost forgotten it was there. It was during a weekend retreat, one of those professional development things that she attended mainly because her school required it, that a facilitator asked a question that broke something open in Renee. The question was simple. What do you want? Not what you think you should want. Not what your family wants for you. Not what makes sense. What do you actually want? And Renee opened her mouth to answer and nothing came out. She told me later that she sat in that circle for what felt like 3 minutes, which in a group setting is an eternity, with her mouth open and no words coming, because she did not know. She had spent 15 years knowing what her students needed, knowing what her family needed, knowing what the school needed, knowing what her community needed, but she had no idea what she wanted. The information was simply not available to her. She had not asked herself that question in so long that the answer had gone dormant. Self-knowledge is the first principle because without it, everything else is being done in the dark. You are making decisions with your eyes closed. You are choosing based on everyone else's blueprint and wondering why the house feels wrong when you walk through it. You are living a life that fits everyone except the one person who has to live it. So how do you build self-knowledge? You start with the practice of honest, regular, courageous self-examination. You ask yourself questions and you sit with the discomfort of not knowing the answer immediately. What energizes me and what drains me? What are the situations in which I feel most fully myself? What am I doing when I lose track of time? What are the values that, when I violate them, leave me feeling hollow? What are the fears that are making decisions in my life that I have not consciously authorized? That last one, the fears. Self-knowledge is not complete without an honest accounting of your fears, because most of the limitations in our lives are not actually limitations. They are fears in disguise. Fear of failure, fear of success, fear of being seen, fear of being too much, fear of not being enough. And here is the thing about fear. It is sneaky. It does not usually announce itself as fear. It shows up as procrastination. It shows up as perfectionism. It shows up as the perpetual I am not ready yet. It shows up as busyness, staying so full of activity that you never have to sit with the question of who you are and what you actually want. What you actually want looks her fears in the face, not recklessly, not without compassion for herself. Honestly, she says, I see you. I understand why you are here. but you do not get to drive. Principle 2. A smart woman never stops learning. I want to say something that might surprise you. The most intelligent people I have ever met are not the ones who know the most. They are the ones who are most excited about how much they do not know. The ones who approach the world with curiosity rather than certainty. The ones for whom every encounter, every conversation, every book, every failure is an opportunity to understand something they did not understand before. There is a concept in psychology called the beginner's mind. It comes from Zen Buddhist practice, but it has become widely recognized across many disciplines as a marker of exceptional thinking. The beginner's mind is the mind that approaches even familiar situations as if seeing them for the first time. The mind that does not assume it already has the answer. The mind that remains genuinely open to being wrong, being surprised, being changed. Most of us, as we get older, leave the beginner's mind behind. We accumulate experience, and we mistake our accumulated experience for complete understanding. We start to think we know how things work. People, systems, relationships, the world. And we stop asking questions. Questions. And in stopping the questions, we stop the growth that a smart woman is a learner for life. Not just in formal educational settings, though those matter, but in every context, every day. She reads widely, not just within the narrow confines of her professional expertise. She asks questions in conversations instead of waiting for her turn to speak. She seeks out people who think differently from her, who have lived differently from her, who see the world through a lens she does not yet have, and she listens to them with genuine openness. She watches, she observes, she reflects. She makes a practice of reviewing her own life and asking what it is teaching her. And crucially, she relearns. Because one of the marks of a truly intelligent mind is the capacity to release what was once true in favor of what is now true. To say, I believed that 10 years ago, and it served me then, but I have grown and my understanding has grown, and I am willing to let go of the old map now that I can see the territory more clearly. That takes courage. Because our beliefs are attached to our identity, and releasing a belief can feel like losing part of ourselves. But a smart woman knows that her identity is not her opinions or her certainties. It is her values and her character and her capacity for growth. Those do not change when she changes her mind. They are affirmed when she does. I think about Marie Curie, a woman who is still 100 years after her death, one of the most extraordinary scientific minds in human history. Two Nobel Prizes. In two different disciplines, physics and chemistry. Something that has never been replicated by anyone, man or woman, before or since. And what drove her? It was not ambition in the conventional sense. She did not spend her life trying to beat other scientists. She spent her life trying to understand something. She was consumed by curiosity. She worked in conditions that were physically dangerous. She was handling radioactive materials at a time when the danger was not yet understood, and it ultimately contributed to her death. But she worked. She kept learning. She kept asking what she did not yet understand and then pursuing the answer with everything she had. The world did not make it easy for her. She was a woman in a field that considered women decorative at best. She was an immigrant in a country that did not fully accept her. She was overlooked and undercredited and excluded from conversations she deserved to lead. But she kept learning. She kept her mind open and her curiosity alive and her commitment to growth intact. And the world, all of it, was changed by what she discovered. You might not be Marie Curie, but you have that same capacity for curiosity. That same capacity to keep growing, keep questioning, keep expanding the territory of your understanding. Do not let the world convince you that you are done learning. You are not done. You will never be done. And that is not a deficit. It is the most exciting thing about being alive. Principle 3. A smart woman thinks before she speaks. And then she speaks. I want to spend some time on this one because it has two parts and both parts matter equally. Thinking before you speak. This is about the quality of what you contribute to the conversations in your life. It is about the practice of pausing before you respond. In arguments, in meetings, in difficult conversations, in moments when your first instinct is to react from emotion rather than respond from wisdom. There is a pause available to you in every situation. A breath, a moment of internal inquiry that asks, is what I am about to say actually what I mean? Is it true? Is it useful? Is it the fullest expression of my thinking? Or is it just the first thing that came up? Some of the most powerful communicators in the world are not the fastest talkers. They are the most deliberate ones. The ones who let a silence sit in a room longer than is comfortable, who take a genuine moment to gather their thoughts before they speak, who value the quality of what they say over the quantity. In a world that rewards speed, in conversations that move at the pace of social media, in meetings where the person who speaks most is often mistaken for the person who knows most, choosing to be deliberate is a radical act. It is also a smart one. But the second part is equally important. And for many women, it is the harder part. And then she speaks. But because there is a way that the advice think before you speak can be weaponized against women. There is a way it can be used to justify the silencing of female voices under the guise of teaching polish or professionalism or restraint. There is a way it can become an internalized voice that says, not yet, not enough. Not the right time. Until not yet becomes never, a smart woman thinks before she speaks. And then she speaks. Though she speaks in a meeting where she is the only woman in the room, she speaks when her idea was just restated by someone else and credited to them. She says, yes, that is exactly what I was saying. Let me expand on it. She speaks when someone talks over her. She says, I was not finished. She speaks when she disagrees with someone more senior than her. She does it respectfully. She does it intelligently. She does it with evidence and with tact. But she does it. She does not swallow her perspective to keep the peace. She does not edit herself into invisibility. She speaks up for other women. She says, let's let her finish. She credits other women's contributions out loud. She amplifies, she advocates. She uses her voice not just for herself, but for the women who have not yet found theirs. I want to tell you about something that happened to a woman named Priya who worked in corporate finance. She was one of the few women on her floor, and definitely the only woman of color in senior meetings. For 2 years, she watched her ideas get absorbed into the room and redistributed by male colleagues as if they were their own. She would say something, the room would move on, and then 10 minutes later, a male colleague would restate her point and be praised for the insight. For 2 years, this happened, and then one day, something shifted. Priya decided she was done being quiet about it. Not angry, not aggressive, but strategic. She started a practice. Every time she had something to say, she said it clearly, and then she said her name. My point is this, and this is Priya's suggestion. So I want to make sure it is attributed correctly. She started speaking up immediately when her ideas were misattributed. Not accusatorially. She gave people the gracious assumption that they might not have realized they were doing it. But clearly, I think that point actually originated with what I said earlier. I'm glad you found it valuable. Within 6 months, the dynamic in those rooms had shifted. Not perfectly, not completely, but enough. Because she had claimed her voice. She had refused to continue the pattern of self-erasure. She had decided that what she thought and what she contributed value that was worth protecting. Your voice has value worth protecting. Your thoughts, your perspectives, your contributions, your questions, they deserve to be heard, not just tolerated, heard. And nobody is going to insist on that on your behalf. You have to insist on it. Thoughtfully, strategically, persistently think first, then speak, both. Always. Principle 4. A smart woman builds emotional intelligence as a superpower. I said earlier that one of the most damaging lies about intelligence is that emotion and intellect are opposites. I want to go deeper into that now because this principle is so important and so often misunderstood. Emotional intelligence, the ability to recognize, understand, manage, and effectively use emotions in yourself and in your relationships, is not soft. It is not a consolation prize for people who are not analytically gifted. It is one of the most complex, multidimensional, and high-value cognitive capabilities a human being can develop. Research by Daniel Goleman and others has shown that emotional intelligence is a stronger predictor of professional success than IQ across virtually every field. It is the foundation of exceptional leadership. It is the engine of effective communication. It is the glue that holds high-functioning teams together. It is the compass that guides wise decision-making under pressure. And women, broadly speaking, on average, across many studies, tend to have a natural inclination toward emotional intelligence. not because of some mystical feminine intuition, but because of social conditioning that has required women to be highly attuned to the emotional landscape of their environments as a survival strategy across generations. That attunement, that capacity, it is a real gift. The tragedy is that it has been dismissed and diminished by a cultural framework that coded it as weakness rather than recognizing it as the remarkable asset that it is.